Hello, I'm Bob the Booker and welcome to my channel. And today I'm recording this just before I head out to work. Hence also why I look a little bit like I'm half asleep, because I probably am. But in many ways, that's part of the relevance of this video. I wanted to talk about winter as it is more generally. And I was thinking about this a bit more recently because of two books, and obviously because we're in winter. But what I'm wanting to talk about now is specifically because of these two books. So the first being, I made a video about the book Wintering, I think last year or the year before. And this wonderful book by Katharine May, I was just given a copy as part of a Secret Santa, which I'm very happy with because actually I didn't have a physical copy. And it's a book that I want to return to year on year for many good reasons. And in this book, Katharine May sets out the argument that essentially humans are not as good at treating ourselves like the animals we are when it comes to winter as other animals do. Other animals hibernate, they down tools, they do all these other things. Humans, particularly in our modern world, try to rally against the dying of the light and try to do so by still keeping going even when it's dark and cold and everything outside, and we're still trying to treat it like we can fit in a regular 9 to 5 and we can do all these other things, all while there's barely any light, at least where I am in the UK. And so it's an argument that we, not only to do with winter, but that we as humans should be better at giving ourselves these pockets of time to really slow down. So we often don't have a down period. We just work and go and work and work and work and continue and go on. And the idea in her book is that whether it's one day a week or one part of a day or just thinking about winter more generally, we should slow down and take those bits of time for ourselves. And this has come back to my mind recently because we're in winter, it's cold and it's dark, and I am just at that stage where I'm trying to squeeze in lots of books to finish before the end of the year. And it's not happening because my brain is not allowing that, because I'm trying to read something. If I try to read something more literary or whatever, my brain does not compute that right now. I'm not able to get through that. My brain won't allow me to. And that feels like a failure at first, but I know it's not. I know really, nobody is holding a gun to my head and making it that I have to finish this Booker project this year. It's a thing I've put on myself. But I think as we get to the end of the year, lots of people feel the pressure, not only with their reading goals, but with broader goals in life, to have done everything, and almost that if it can be ticked off before December 31st, it suddenly has more weight than if it carries into January in any way. And I think that's a really interesting phenomenon of humans, and maybe it's a late stage capitalism thing, maybe it's just how we're wired in other ways, but there is a push where everyone feels like they have to get everything done. And particularly looking at reading goals and all of those sorts of things, it's so easy to see this as having been a failure, that you didn't achieve all the things that you thought you might across the year. And that is very much what I'm up against at the moment, and I've had to step away from that. At one point I realized that to finish my Booker project within the year, and at least within the year with enough time to film a video before I go away for New Year's, I would have to have read something like, I think it got to about 270 pages of just Booker books per day. And that would mean no days off. That would mean that if I fell behind, I'd need to catch up. That meant I couldn't really read anything else, or if I did, all of those additional pages would have to happen on top of those 270 Booker pages, and all of this kind of nonsense. Then I was ill and couldn't really focus for a week, and suddenly I was like, well, now the total is 350 or something, some kind of nonsense. I'm like, right, we're not doing this. And this takes me in many ways to the second book that I wanted to talk about. And this is another book I read recently, also about winter, and that is Kari Leibowitz with How to Winter. And I find this book really interesting in several ways. The core argument is, in many ways, it sort of riffs on similar things to Wintering, but it takes as its idea that some nations seem to be better equipped to deal with winter than others. Um, and she lays out the comparison pieces of the US, where she's from, and Norway. She lives in Norway for a bit of a year, and particularly lives in Tromsø, which is an area that doesn't have a massive amount of natural light during the winter. And she notes that many of the people around her seem particularly prepared for it, that they seem to be able to understand how to deal with the harshness of winter there. And she looks at various studies, she tries to understand why it is, and she draws out a few conclusions, one of which is the way that we perceive winter and the way we talk about it and think about it, and particularly the way we prepare for it. And so she gives the example of various winter festivals that happen in Norway, or various traditions that bring people together. And a part of that is thinking, well, actually, here's a fun thing about winter. In winter, you can notice these things happen in nature. You can see the way the light changes. You can see the beautiful things happening out in nature. You can see all these amazing, gorgeous things. That is a reason to love winter and to respect it and to think about it in a certain way. Whereas, I know from the UK, winter is often treated as a thing you persevere through, you grumble about, you are annoyed because the trains aren't running, you're annoyed that everything's cold and miserable, and particularly in the UK, it gets quite wet. And so it's just a bit of a miserable time. And part of her argument in this book is about reframing it. Is about thinking about the things that winter gives you. This is an opportunity to down tools, to relax, to have an amazing opportunity, an excuse to go and see everybody, because you can drop in at the end of the year and see people before the new year. That's one sort of beautiful thing you can take from it. And another part of her argument is about this thought of how we reframe it, how we prepare for it. And the traditions that allow us to do this, things like Christmas or New Year's or various other festivals that happen during this time, are explicitly about celebrating certain things, whether it's togetherness and family, whether it's Diwali and the Festival of Light, whether it's all these other things that are about celebrating the things that you can get from winter. And with all of this in mind, it's kind of shaped how I'm thinking about my winter. Instead of now treating it as, I don't know, the period of time before the new year where I'm just manically rushing around, trying to finish all of my reading projects, trying to do whatever else, and not enjoy any of them as a result. I'm taking this as a bit of an opportunity to down tools and to treat my reading with a bit more gentleness. What's the book that I've been wanting to read all year that I've not managed to get round to, and I'd quite like to just tuck into, sit in under some nice covers with a hot chocolate or a nice cup of tea or something and read this book? What are the books that are really calling my name and asking that I read them? What are the audiobooks I can listen to while I'm on a nice long walk? All of those sorts of things, instead of I need to finish every single part of this project. And that's been a bit of a thing I've been thinking about a lot because of the Booker project, because that is one where it started as about 300 and something books, and I'm down to the final 30. And because I'm so close to the end, it feels like a thing I could just do in a short window of time if I really threw everything at it. I don't have everything in me to throw at it right now. I'm tired. I'm busy with work and seeing people. It's dark and miserable outside. My brain is switching off. And there are so many other books and things that are calling my name. And so I'm taking it as a bit of an excuse to pause that for now. I'm still doing the Booker project. I'll still read a couple here and there. But now I'm planning on finishing that early next year instead of squeezing that in now, because it wouldn't be worth it. I would not really enjoy or experience the books how they're meant to be enjoyed or experienced, and I would hate the whole thing. So I'm going to read a couple before the end of the year. I'll read the rest of the 30 at some point early next year, and that'll be fine. So yeah, those are the thoughts I'm having right now. And both of those books, I think, are really gorgeous excuses to talk about winter and think about winter a bit differently. Wintering really meant a lot to me when I first read it. I think this book does such wonders in terms of thinking about us, really kind of giving ourselves compassion and kindness as animals, and really in terms of our brains are not wired to be getting up way before it's dark, before the light appears, and still staying up way past any natural light. I think this book really beautifully sums that up, and I think How to Winter as well is such a gorgeous way of thinking about how we actually treat and frame winter, particularly speaking again from the UK, as the thing that you just have to endure. And I'm not going to treat it like that. I think this year, if I can, I'm going to try and think of all the wonderful things you can do with it, the ways that you can really down tools, hide away with a blanket, and read nice things, and be kind to yourself, and see people, have connections, all of those sorts of things. So anyway, this slightly wandering video is me trying to capture my thoughts on that. I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're having a good winter. Obviously, some people might be watching this in a part of the world where you are having your summer, in which case enjoy. But either way, I hope you're having a great time, and be kind to yourself over this period. Take care and speak to you all soon. Bye bye.